Look at your life right now. I'm not talking about the curated highlight reel you show the world or the business as usual face you put on for your peers. I'm talking about the raw reality of what it feels like inside your own mind when the noise shuts off. It's the late nights spent drowning in scrolling distractions, chasing cheap dopamine hits just to numb a quiet, simmering frustration. It's the mornings where your body physically wakes up and goes through the motions, but your drive, your hunger, and your spirit are still fast asleep. There is a constant background static in your mind whispering that you are slipping. It tells you that you should be doing more, producing more, and becoming more. Do not mistake that voice for an enemy or a symptom of anxiety. That voice is your potential. It is your inner warrior shaking the bars of the cage you built out of comfort, trying to wake you up before you drift too far down the wrong path. Let's be entirely honest with ourselves. Somewhere along the line, you started compromising. You quietly lowered your standards in secret, thinking no one would notice. You made deals with your laziness, whispering the ultimate lie, "I'll start tomorrow." Now, the days are bleeding into each other, and every week feels exactly the same. You aren't broken, but you have been drifting. You have been tolerating a mediocre, average existence as if it's normal. Let me make this clear. It is not normal for a person with your potential to feel this soft inside. It is not normal to continuously betray your own goals for short-term comfort. You were not built to merely survive, pay bills, and distract yourself until you die. You were built to handle pressure, command chaos, and stand completely firm while the rest of the world panics. That is the Stoic path. That is how you reclaim your power. Why does everything feel so off right now? Because weakness didn't smash through your front door. It crept in slowly through small daily concessions. It came in the form of subtle excuses, endless comparison, emotional overreactions, overthinking, and digital distractions. Worst of all, you got incredibly good at hiding it. You know exactly how to look perfectly fine on the surface while fighting a losing war behind your eyes. But a true strategist doesn't avoid the war. They win it. Winning that war begins with a single, uncompromising decision. You must kill your weakness, not suppress it. You cannot run from it, negotiate with it, or dress it up as self-care. You have to face it head-on, expose it to the light, and completely destroy it so the strongest version of you can finally take control of the wheel. This is not a motivational speech, and it isn't temporary hype. This is a cold, calculated mental, emotional, and psychological reset. This reset relies on three absolute commands. First, reset your beliefs. You must completely strip away the victim mindset and realize that you are no longer a slave to your biology or your immediate emotions. Second, restart your inner fire. We are moving away from relying on sporadic bursts of inspiration. Discipline must become an automatic, non-negotiable instinct, requiring zero emotional effort. Third, refocus your purpose. Every single action you take today must align with the person you are actively becoming, not the person you used to be. You are about to break down 8 brutal, unvarnished truths rooted in ancient Stoic philosophy. This is real wisdom built for battle-tested minds. No fluff, no sugarcoating. Each truth will directly target a weakness you have allowed to grow inside your routine and provide the exact framework to crush it using silence, strategic action, and absolute self-mastery. Before we dive into the first truth, you must accept one cold reality. Nobody is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your friends, not a past relationship, and not a miracle routine you found online. It is entirely on you now. Do not view that as a burden. View it as ultimate freedom. If your life is entirely your responsibility, it means you possess the absolute power to change it. You can stop being a slave to your past and start acting like the leader of your future. But it requires choosing the hard, disciplined road. It demands silence, control, self-respect, and sacrifice. Stop blaming, stop waiting, and start building. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. One of the greatest indicators of an unstable mind is high emotional reactivity. When you explode because someone treats you with disrespect, when you completely shut down because a project didn't go your way, or when you let a minor daily frustration ruin your entire week, you are handing over your power. You are acting like a puppet, easily manipulated by the opinions, insults, rejections, and disappointments of everyone around you. That isn't strength, it is voluntary emotional slavery. Your mood should never depend on how other people choose to behave. Stoicism teaches us the concept of emotional sovereignty. It reminds us that while we cannot always control our initial instinctual surge of emotion, we are 100% responsible for what we do with it next. True power means feeling a massive wave of anger, pausing, and choosing not to act on it. It means carrying weight, pressure, or grief, yet still showing up flawlessly to execute your purpose. To build this kind of psychological fortress, you must master the art of the pause. When a trigger occurs, whether it's an insult, an email, or an unexpected setback, do not react instantly. Create a gap between the stimulus and your response. Step back mentally, observe the emotion objectively as if it belongs to someone else, and ask yourself, is this event truly worth sacrificing my mental peace over? Practice detachment. This doesn't mean becoming an unfeeling robot or a cold stone. It means recognizing that you do not owe the outside world your peace of mind. The world will always throw storms at you. Betrayal, failure, criticism, and loss are guaranteed parts of the human experience. But if you master your internal state, the external world completely loses its leverage over you. You don't ignore your emotions. You rule them like a king rules a kingdom. Guard your mind like a fortress, and let nothing enter without your explicit permission. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. You will never be able to successfully rebuild your life as long as you are actively using your past as an excuse for your current lack of discipline. The second massive weakness you must ruthlessly eliminate is the victim mentality. This is a deceptive mental loop that constantly tells you, it's not my fault, look at what they did to me. It feels validating in the moment, but here's the trap. The moment you hand out blame, you hand away your power to change the outcome. We all carry scars. We have all experienced unfair circumstances, toxic relationships, absent support systems, sudden losses, and painful failures. You do not need to pretend that these events didn't hurt. You do not have to minimize your pain, but you must ensure that your wounds do not dictate your permanent direction. Pain is an unavoidable part of life, but prolonged suffering and stagnation are choices. What happens to us is rarely in our control, but how we choose to adapt and build from it always is. If you genuinely want to restart your life, your mindset must pivot entirely. Stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start demanding, what am I going to do about it right now? Most people stay completely stuck in life because they are waiting for an apology, an explanation, or closure that is never going to come. They expect the person who broke them to come back and fix them. True leaders do not wait. They practice radical accountability. They take complete ownership of their emotions, their financial outcomes, their physical health, and their future. Look at your life like a chaotic battlefield. Are you going to sit in the mud complaining about how harsh the environment is? Or are you going to stand up, secure your perimeter, and fight your way out? Even Epictetus, who spent youth as a physical slave, realized that the only true prison is a weak mind. The moment you replace "I can't because of my past" with "I will because of my future," the entire game shifts. Just as nature takes every obstacle, every impediment, and works around it, turning it into fuel, so too can a disciplined mind turn every hardship into a new opportunity. Marcus Aurelius. Weakness thrives in a soft, unchallenged environment. Discipline, focus, and character can only be forged in the fire of discomfort. If you have been feeling deeply stuck, anxious, or unfulfilled lately, it is because your daily routine has become too soft. Modern society has turned comfort into an idol. We have immediate access to constant entertainment, cheap dopamine, high-calorie foods, and endless avenues for escape. Every time life gets slightly difficult, we immediately retreat into a screen. What has this obsession with comfort actually produced? It hasn't made people happier. It has generated an epidemic of anxiety, physical weakness, and quiet regret. You cannot simultaneously optimize for a great future and a comfortable present. They are fundamentally incompatible. A powerful mindset understands that discomfort is not something to be avoided. It is the literal engine of personal evolution. If you want mental clarity, you have to be willing to sit completely alone in a quiet room without your phone or any background noise, forcing yourself to confront your thoughts. If you want physical dominance, you have to train when your body is tired and the weather is miserable. If you want peace, you have to directly face the difficult conversations and heavy tasks you have been actively dodging. Comfort tells you that you've done enough. Discipline reminds you that you've barely scratched the surface. The ancient Stoics intentionally practiced voluntary hardship. They would spend days eating minimal rations, wearing rough clothing, and sleeping on the floor, not because they liked suffering, but because they knew it immunized them against fear. If you constantly shield yourself from difficulty, your mental muscles will completely atrophy. Every single time you choose the easier path, you shrink. Every time you consciously choose the harder, correct path, you grow. Step into the friction. Fire doesn't destroy steel, it hardens it. Do less if you would seek tranquility. Do what is essential, and do it well. Marcus Aurelius. You will never be able to successfully reset your mind if your attention span is constantly being hijacked every 5 minutes. You cannot build a business, finish a degree, or master a skill if you are completely incapable of maintaining sustained focus. One of the quietest, most destructive weaknesses of our generation is the normalization of total distraction. We live in a world where tech companies spend billions of dollars specifically to fracture your attention span for profit. The Stoics mastered the art of absolute simplicity, doing only what matters and doing it with elite execution. A disciplined mind sharpens its attention like a precision blade. Attention is the ultimate currency of human potential. When you scatter your focus across 50 different inputs, group chats, social feeds, emails, and news cycles, you dilute your power until you have nothing left to give to your actual goals. Think about how many times you've opened your phone to complete a simple, necessary task, only to snap out of a hypnotic trance 45 minutes later after scrolling through mindless content. You didn't just lose time. You completely drained your cognitive momentum. A fractured mind is entirely incapable of deep strategic planning, intense reflection, or real execution. It transforms potential builders into passive consumers. If you want to reclaim your mind, you must declare open war on distraction. It requires zero talent to clear your digital workspace, silence non-essential notifications, set rigid boundaries for your deep work blocks, and vigorously protect your morning routine. Focus is not an innate talent you are born with. It is a mechanical skill you must actively train every single day. If outside forces control your attention, they ultimately control your thoughts, your habits, and your entire destiny. Take back your weapon of focus. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself and no longer tolerate self-delusion? Epictetus. Excuses are nothing more than highly calculated lies we tell ourselves to alleviate the guilt of not doing the work. They always sound completely reasonable, incredibly logical, and justified to the outside world. But internally, every single excuse you accept serves as a heavy chain keeping you locked to the weakest version of yourself. Let's look at the facts. Everyone has a list of reasons why they can't execute today. People say they don't have enough capital, they lack time, the market is too crowded, they are too overwhelmed, or they are waiting for the perfect plan or a sudden burst of motivation. But the elite do not wait for the perfect alignment of stars. They move precisely because conditions are difficult. A true professional acts despite discomfort, despite fear, and despite personal inconvenience. There is not a single Stoic philosopher in history who built their legacy on excuses. They leaned heavily into hardship. When Epictetus was a disabled slave under an unpredictable empire, he didn't complain about his total lack of societal leverage. He focused entirely on what remained within his immediate control: his mind, his character, and his daily choices, and used that restricted focus to build an immortal philosophical framework. Every time you validate an excuse, you are actively choosing to delay your reset and extend your own mediocrity. Excuses feel warm and comforting in the short term, but they act as a slow-release poison for your long-term pride and self-esteem. Silence the internal voice that says, "I'm too tired, it isn't fair," or "I'll start on Monday." That voice isn't logic. It's just fear wearing a mask. Destroy your excuses with immediate aggressive execution. Show up tired, show up unmotivated, but show up. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. The fear of making a mistake is the absolute killer of human capability. The vast majority of people are not truly living. They are simply managing their risks, tiptoeing through their lives, hoping to reach death safely without facing humiliation or failure. They refuse to start the project, write the paper, or make the pivot because it might not work out. They are blind to the fact that absolute inaction is actually the most certain, painful form of failure available. A Stoic strategist never views failure as an emotional identity crisis. They view it purely as feedback, data, and necessary friction that sharpens their edge. Life is not about maintaining a flawless record. It is about building the psychological durability to keep moving forward when your plans completely fall apart. Think deeply about how many high-level opportunities you have voluntarily passed up simply because you were worried about looking foolish or losing your investment. That fear is your weakness whispering in your ear, trying to keep you small and safe. Real strength cannot be built in a simulation where you always win. It is forged when you take a heavy hit the ground, look at the blood, and calmly stand right back up. When a disciplined mind suffers a setback, they don't lose self-worth. They study the failure objectively, analyze the variables, and become significantly more dangerous for the next attempt. Failure is a guaranteed visitor on the path to high achievement. The only question that matters is whether you will allow it to define you or use it to refine your strategy. Marcus Aurelius stabilized an entire empire during plagues, macroeconomic collapse, and military betrayals because he evaluated himself by his daily adherence to virtue and duty, not by external luck. Stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What if I learn exactly what I need to conquer the next level?" Take the shot, execute the strategy, and move like someone who refuses to quit. It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own self-judgment. Marcus Aurelius. The desperate, unspoken need for social validation is a quiet killer of authentic ambition. You might not even realize you are doing it, but every single time you hesitate to voice an idea, overthink a strategic move, or hold back your true capabilities because you are worried about how your peers or your family might react, you are voluntarily surrendering your personal sovereignty. You are sacrificing your truth on the altar of public opinion. The path of true self-mastery is naturally isolated because it is built entirely on alignment, not external applause. The world might not understand your vision, your friends might distance themselves from your new habits, and your family might question your intense focus. That is completely fine. High performers do not move for applause. They move for the objective truth of their mission. Stoicism teaches this with unapologetic clarity. You have absolute control over your own actions, but you have zero control over how other people choose to perceive them. Therefore, valuing their perception over your reality is a complete waste of intellectual energy. The moment you begin tailoring your lifestyle to ensure acceptance from average people, you automatically guarantee that your results will remain average. Ask yourself right now, who are you actually building for? The version of you that constantly craves online engagement, likes, verbal praise, and status symbols will always remain fragile because its foundation rests on a shifting swamp of public opinion. But the version of you that can stand tall in total silence, that executes flawlessly when nobody is watching, and that keeps building momentum when there is zero applause, that version is truly dangerous. That version is free. Build your infrastructure in silence. Grow your assets in private, and let your ultimate real-world results do the talking. Every day provides a completely new life, and a wise man realizes that his past is nothing more than smoke. Seneca. The final, most dangerous form of internal weakness is the deep-seated belief that you are permanently bound to the identity you have maintained for the last few years. It is the trap of thinking that because you have historically been disorganized, overly emotional, prone to procrastination, or financially stagnant, you must continue to carry that specific persona into your future. You are treating a temporary pattern as a permanent identity. The most effective individuals in history understand that growth requires relentless reinvention. You cannot build a new reality while using the exact same mental code that created your current limitations. If you keep repeating the narrative that you are just not a math person or historically undisciplined, you are actively programming failure into your daily subconscious execution. Your past is merely a data point. It is not your final chapter. The core of Stoic psychology states that we are completely reborn in every present moment by the choices we make right now, not by our historical track record. You can choose to change the entire trajectory of your lifestyle starting today, brick by brick, thought by thought. But here is what stops most people. They are deeply attached to the comfort of their old identity. They are terrified of outgrowing their current social circle, changing their familiar routines, or making the people around them uncomfortable with their sudden ambition. You cannot step into a powerful future while refusing to let go of the corpse of your past self. Let that old version die. The version of you that overthinks simple tasks, gone. The version that prioritizes cheap comfort, dead. The version that blames the environment, buried. A new, hyper-focused, calculated, and disciplined identity must rise to take its place. This isn't about being fake. It is about finally allowing your true potential to break through the noise. Change your daily inputs, change your posture, alter your environment, and execute with absolute clarity. This world is not inherently gentle, life is rarely fair, and absolutely nobody is going to knock on your door to hand you peace of mind, financial freedom, or absolute purpose. If you want these things, you must dynamically transform yourself into the type of individual who is capable of taking and sustaining them. That requires an ongoing daily campaign against the weaknesses that have been quietly subverting your progress. You must continuously starve your emotional reactions, your victim loops, your comfort cravings, your daily distractions, your convenient excuses, your fear of making mistakes, your need for social validation, and your ties to your old identity. Weakness does not pack its bags and leave voluntarily just because you watched a video or read a book. It must be actively starved out, outworked, and outgrown through cold, mechanical execution. This is not a temporary challenge, it is a permanent lifestyle. The ancient Stoics didn't just sit around debating philosophy in academic halls, they trained like athletes. They rigorously practiced daily self-discipline, extreme self-honesty, and total emotional control under pressure. They didn't just endure hardships, they actively used them to sharpen their focus and build their legacy. Now the choice rests entirely in your hands. You can easily close this screen, go back to your old patterns, and spend another year running in the exact same circles of frustration and regret. Or you can draw a line in the sand right now, reset your mindset, restart your inner drive, and refocus your actions like someone who actually respects their own potential. This isn't about achieving a state of flawless perfection. It is about establishing quiet, unyielding, internal power. Stop feeding your weakness, stop delaying your execution, and let your actions speak. The reset has officially begun.